What happens when someone ditches the digital noise for 30 days? In New Zealand, that's exactly what one traveler did. No screens, no scrolls, just nature, silence, and the raw beauty of the wild. This is a journey of reconnection, where technology takes a backseat and life is experienced in its purest form. The escape. Why New Zealand? In today's world, notifications, messages, and emails constantly demand attention, fragmenting our presence and exhausting our minds. For years, life can feel like a whirlwind of work pressure and digital noise, leaving little room for reflection or stillness. That's when the idea of a true escape begins to take hold. New Zealand offers a rare kind of serenity. With its pristine landscapes, crystal-clear lakes, and vast, untouched wilderness, it promises the kind of solitude that modern life often lacks. Its remote valleys, rugged peaks, and endless horizons create the perfect setting for a digital detox. But this journey wasn't just about avoiding screens. It was about reconnecting with nature, finding mental clarity, and rediscovering what it means to live with presence and intention. Preparation. Packing for a digital detox. The first step was letting go of the tech. No laptop, no tablet, and the phone was switched off and kept only for emergencies. Instead, the essentials were kept simple: hiking boots, a sturdy backpack, a few good books, a journal, and a camera to document moments mindfully. Packing was as much a mental preparation as a physical one. The absence of digital noise would make space for reflection, solitude, and meaningful experiences. This wasn't a vacation. It was a conscious commitment to be fully present. Day 1. Arriving in Auckland, a fresh start. A long flight brought the traveler to Auckland, New Zealand's largest city. With the phone off and tucked away, there was no agenda other than getting to the wilderness. The first destination? Rotorua, known for its geothermal wonders and rich Maori heritage. Stepping outside the airport, there was no screen to check, just a map tucked into a journal and a handwritten note of bus times. It felt liberating. The air was crisp, the sky impossibly blue, and every sound, from the hum of traffic to the chatter of fellow travelers, felt more vivid. The digital silence was strange, but somehow, it already felt like clarity. Day 2 to 5. Immersing in nature, Rotorua. In Rotorua, each day began with birdsong and the scent of geothermal steam wafting through the morning air. The Wakarewarewa forest, with its towering Californian redwoods and misty trails, offered a kind of quiet the digital world rarely allows. Without a phone to glance at or messages to reply to, the traveler found their senses sharpening. The light filtering through the trees took on a golden glow, and the earthy scent of damp soil grounded each step. There was time, real, uninterrupted time, to sit by a bubbling spring and simply breathe. Afternoons were filled with slow, mindful hikes and impromptu conversations with fellow wanderers, each person sharing their own reason for stepping away from the grid. Evenings brought warmth and community, gathered around hangi feasts in local Maori villages. These moments, eating food cooked beneath the earth, listening to stories woven with ancient wisdom, held a depth and authenticity no algorithm could ever replicate. Day 6 to 10. Embracing silence. The Tongariro Alpine Crossing. Next came the raw beauty of Tongariro National Park, a place that felt like stepping onto another planet. The Tongariro Alpine Crossing, one of the world's greatest one-day hikes, traversed ancient lava flows, steaming vents, and crater lakes. Every step offered a new texture: soft volcanic ash, black rock, shifting gravel, all untouched by technology. The air felt charged with the land's power. Without devices, silence became something to embrace, not fill. It was full of wind, distant falcons, and crunching footsteps. Days were spent moving through the mountains, nights beneath a sky full of stars. Conversations were few, but the landscape spoke volumes, stories of ancient forces and nature's quiet resilience. Isolation brought presence, not loneliness. The mind slowed, and in that simplicity, the traveler found not escape, but arrival. The journey became meditative, a deeper connection to both the earth and themselves. Day 11 to 15. Finding solitude in the Fjordlands. Fiordland National Park, with its dramatic cliffs and deep blue waters, offered some of the most breathtaking scenery in the country. Kayaking through Milford Sound, surrounded by mist-covered mountains, was like stepping into another world, a place where time seemed to slow, and the noise of the world was replaced by the natural sounds of water lapping against the boat and birds calling from the cliffs above. With no notifications or updates, the focus shifted inward. Journaling became a way to capture thoughts, realizations, and emotions that arose from the beauty and solitude of the place. Each moment in the fjords felt like a personal conversation with nature. There was time to think without rushing, to feel without distraction. No more checking off itineraries or taking photos for the sake of documentation. This was a time for presence. The stillness of the fjords reflected a deep internal calm. It was in this solitude that personal transformation quietly began to take root. With each passing day, the traveler felt layers of mental clutter peeling away. They were reminded that sometimes silence isn't a void. It's the space where clarity grows. Day 16 to 20. Reconnecting with the mind, the Southern Lakes. In the Southern Lakes region, solitude took on a new depth. A remote cabin in the mountains became home for several days. No Wi-Fi, no signal, just the sound of wind and water. Initially, the silence felt overwhelming, a void where the constant hum of the digital world had once filled the gaps. But as the days went on, the silence became sacred, each passing moment deepening the connection to self and nature. Thoughts once drowned out by digital chaos were now allowed to surface. Time was spent reading, journaling, meditating, and simply being. The act of reflection began to feel more intentional, less hurried. The mind slowed down, and creativity returned in a way it hadn't for months. Without the constant barrage of information, new ideas flowed naturally, and deep insights emerged without effort. The isolation wasn't lonely. It was the kind of quiet that allowed room for growth and mental clarity. Day 21 to 25. Reconnecting with people, the West Coast. The wild west coast of New Zealand brought human connection back into focus. A stay at a remote eco-lodge run by a local family introduced a lifestyle rooted in sustainability, simplicity, and real conversation. It was here that the traveler rediscovered the beauty of face-to-face interaction, where words weren't rushed and each conversation felt meaningful. Evenings were spent around the fire, exchanging stories with fellow travelers and hosts. There were no selfies or social posts, just genuine, unfiltered interaction. Stories of family, land, and past adventures flowed freely, and the world outside felt distant, not because of technology, but because of the richness of the present moment. This human reconnection was as essential as solitude. In a world dominated by virtual communication, the experience reminded everyone of the irreplaceable value of face-to-face connection. Real conversations, not edited for an audience or cut short for convenience, became the highlight of the journey. Day 26 to 30. Returning to Auckland, the return to the world. Returning to Auckland after nearly a month off the grid was both strange and beautiful. The city's buzz felt louder, faster. The screens and pings seemed more intrusive, as though the traveler had re-entered a world of constant connection and instant gratification. But there was also a newfound peace, a slower rhythm carried back from the wilderness. The traveler wandered the city at their own pace, walked through gardens, browsed bookstores, and watched harbor lights flicker without reaching for a device. There was no pressure to be anywhere or keep up with the digital rush. The time away had created space for reflection, showing that balance wasn't about rejecting technology, but using it intentionally. The final question became, how do you bring this sense of calm into everyday life? The answer wasn't to abandon technology completely, but to use it with boundaries and purpose. It was about returning to the world with a new understanding of what mattered, finding peace in small moments, and keeping connection with self and others at the forefront. 30 days off the grid revealed a simple truth. Peace isn't found in avoiding the world, but in learning how to engage with it mindfully. A digital detox, even for a short time, can reset the soul. If this story inspired you, consider taking your own break from the noise. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Would you go off the grid? Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded.